What's going on? What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. We're gonna be talking about them Philadelphia Eagles, my Philadelphia Eagles. So, if you haven't already seen the 2025 schedule for all NFL teams came out today, and a lot of the fans, definitely us Eagles fans, are not very happy with um, how difficult our schedule is. But we all know that when you win the Super Bowl or when you make a very deep playoff run, the following season you're gonna have a very hard ass schedule. So that's on par with how the NFL has always been, but still, a lot of us Eagles fans are butthurt. So um, things get interesting right off the back, right? The Eagles open up at home versus the Dallas Cowboys, providing them an opportunity to raise the championship banner in front of one of their top rivals, right? The Eagles fans are going to be rubbing it in, and I'm pretty sure Jerry Jones is going to be sitting up in the press box just looking butthurt as hell. But maybe he should draft players better, or maybe he just should, let his sons or someone else run the team, and maybe they'll win another Super Bowl. But it doesn't matter because after the Eagles win that game, they have to go on the road to um, the Kansas City Chiefs, right? And we all know it doesn't get any much better than this, because the Philadelphia Eagles crushed the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl 40-22. And the defense registered 11 hits and 6 sacks on Patrick Mahomes, right? So I think that offensive line, the guys that's still there on that Chiefs offensive line is going to want to, try to prove that they can protect Patrick Mahomes versus that Eagles defensive line. Uh, Minus maybe two guys that left in free agency. Um, the Eagles defensive line is pretty intact, right? So that's going to be a matchup that I'm going to be watching closely. The Eagles defensive line versus the Chiefs offensive line. The Chiefs made Patrick Mahomes look really ordinary in that Super Bowl. So you just know that Patrick Mahomes, Kelsey, and Andy Reid has that game circled on their schedule, and it's going to be a fun atmosphere. The Chiefs fans are going to be fired up. The Eagles fans that show up are going to be fired up, and so it's going to be a really good game. Now, this first 5 weeks, right? You got to play Dallas, you got to play Kansas City, you got to play the Los Angeles Rams, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Denver Broncos, right? Overall, the Eagles have to play 10 teams that made it to the Super Bowl. But this first 5 weeks is going to be a gauntlet for the Eagles. I don't want to overuse the word gauntlet too much, but you can't sit up here, whether you're an Eagles fan or not, and be delusional and say that this first 5 weeks isn't going to be very hard at all, right? And then you kind of get a break versus the New York Giants on week 6, right? And then you got to go play the Minnesota Vikings. Now, another key stretch is pretty much the second half of the season after the bye, right? So, coming off the bye, the Eagles have a trip to the Green Bay Packers, followed by a home game on short rest against the Lions. I guess the good thing about that is that the Eagles are going to be at home. They're not going to have to go on the road and play the Lions in their environment, which that environment can get very hostile. The Lions are going to be very sour because they thought that they was going to be going to the Super Bowl, and then they let the Washington Commanders blow them out. So they're going to be salty, and they I don't know. I mean, come week 11, I don't know if they're still going to have a lot of that saltiness left in them, but they're going to be salty because everyone's going to want to give the Eagles their best shot. And then after you play the Lions, then you have to take a trip to Dallas, right? So normally the Eagles and Dallas they split, right? So the Eagles will win when Dallas come to the link, and then when the Eagles go to Jerry World, Dallas takes that game. Last year, though, the Eagles swept the Dallas Cowboys, and they beat them pretty bad on both occasions. But I don't think it's going to be that way this year. Dak's going to be healthy, so I think that the Eagles are going to split that game. And then if the Eagles have a strong showing over those 3 games, that's gonna pretty much propel the Eagles to the final push of the regular season. Um, and so one of the things that you have to think about with this Eagles team, although we still have a lot of talent coming back on both sides of the ball, the Cowboys, the Chiefs, and the Rams are all going to have something to prove. With 2 of them, the Kansas City Chiefs and the Los Angeles Rams losing to the Eagles last season in the postseason, right? And then the Eagles are going to be having to adjust to a new offensive coordinator, because Kellen Moore is now the head coach of the New Orleans Saints, while the defense will be breaking in several new starters that could potentially equal to a loss or 2 early on, especially if the defensive side of the ball isn't gelling very well, like they did last year. Now, some of the matchups that I definitely will have circled on this schedule is obviously I'm going to be watching the Dallas Cowboys game, but I'm going to be watching the Kansas City Chiefs game, right? I'm going to have that game circled. I'm definitely going to be watching the Commanders, right? Because the Commanders are surging, man. The Commanders are surging. Jaden Daniels is a beast. He gave the Eagles hell. That first game, it was a dirty hit on Jalen Hurts, but the Eagles were still winning pretty good, and then they was able to come back. The Washington Commanders were able to come back and win that game, and then the Washington Commanders just pretty much crap the bed versus the Eagles in that playoff game. So I'm going to definitely be watching that game because the division could still be up for grabs when the Eagles play the Commanders twice over the last 3 games of the regular season. The Commanders have loaded up on a few key free agents. They got Deebo Samuels Sr., and then they got Larry Thompson, right? So that's going to be that's going to be some matchups to watch. We know that Deebo Samuels doesn't really like the Eagles, right? He had some really crazy things to say about the Eagles, but now that he's no longer on the San Francisco 49ers, maybe he's going to be singing a different tune. And then obviously Larry Thompson is a very good tackle. So that's the Commanders saying, hey, we want to be able to protect Jaden Daniels and put as many weapons around him because they believe that they have a very special player in Jaden Daniels, which I think they do. I think that Jaden Daniels and Jalen Hurts will be running, the league, excuse me, definitely for the next couple of years. So you're going to see a lot of good matchups between those 2 quarterbacks, Jaden Daniels and Jalen Hurts. But yeah, I think that the Eagles' schedule is definitely, it's doable, right? Like it's not a complete, I mean, it's the NFL, right? Every Sunday you can get beat in the NFL. So although the Eagles have a very tough schedule, I do think that I think that the Eagles are going to be able to finish 11-5. Where those 5 losses are going to come from, I don't exactly know. I'm not trying to make too many predictions besides the Eagles beating the Dallas Cowboys in the first game of the season. But I don't know exactly where the Eagles' win and losses are going to come from. I'm just going to go on a limb and say that the Eagles are going to win 11 games and we're going to lose 5 games on the season. But it's going to be a fun season. Again, 4th hardest schedule in the NFL, but the Eagles have a lot of talent on that team. Anytime you got Jalen Hurts leading your team, being the leader that he is, you got to feel good about your chances, right? Are the Eagles going to repeat? I don't know. I'm not a delusional fan. The NFL is hard, and it's hard for teams to repeat. I would love for the Eagles to repeat, but we have to see. I'm just looking at it as one game at a time. But I definitely think the Eagles are going to be 11-5, around 11-5. Hopefully we, win one of those games that I think we may lose. But I definitely think the Eagles are still going to have a very commanding, record when it's time for the playoffs. And then when you make the playoffs, everyone is 0-0 because pretty much the playoffs is a whole nother season. So y'all let me know what y'all think in the comment section below. How y'all feeling about this Eagles 2025 schedule? Philly fans, let me know how y'all feel. And if you are a fan of another team that's not the Philadelphia Eagles, shit, let me know what y'all think in the comment section below about y'all schedule. I know that the San Francisco 49ers have the easiest schedule in the NFL. So we're going to definitely see a lot of the, NFL commentators and, color analysts hype up the 49ers. They still got to pay Brock Purdy. But yeah, y'all let me know in the comment section what y'all think about the schedule. And as always, I appreciate everyone who shows love, who supports the channel, leaving a like, subscribing, and leaving a comment in the comment section. I appreciate y'all. And until next time,